to Undaki instead of playing a game where you're literally casting bones of humans and resurrecting the dead.
All right, so we got everyone's favorite segment, Play Shelf Trade.
Yes.
And this week, we have a Halloween themed version. So, shocker. But
wait. This is a Halloween episode?
Yeah,
that's correct. I mean,
oh.
I would like to think so, or we really made randomly get dressed up for no reason. Like
that makes sense now. Why we're all dressed up? I was confused.
Yes.
Okay,
correct. Yeah, if we were dressed up like this for no good reason,
yeah.
I think we'd be in a different part of YouTube than we currently are. But regardless, so our games this week are Abomination, one of John's favorites, as we all know, Dead Man's Cabal, and the co-op Horrified. So we all kind of know where everyone feels on different things. I guess we'll start with Andy. What you got?
All right. Well, thank you. This is going to be a pretty easy one for me, honestly. Anytime there's a co-op involved and only one of them, well, we know where it's going probably. I'll get to that in a second, though. Let's go to Play first. Play, you know what I feel like playing right now? I feel like playing Abomination. That's a fun game. And I've enjoyed it, John. I know you don't think I have. I've only played it once or twice with you, but I need to give it another shot. It was a little lengthy for me at the time, and I didn't quite understand it at first. It was a late Friday night game session. I think we started it at probably like 11 o'clock at night. I remember that because it really didn't get over till like 2 in the morning or something. And
it was pretty late. It was pretty late.
And the one thing that I did have a problem with is it seemed like it was all decided by dice at the very end, which put a little bit of a sourness in my mouth. But nonetheless, it's an awesome theme. It's got worker placement. It's a cool game. I would love to play it again soon. What's going to stay on my shelf? Well, that's going to be Dead Man's Cabal. I own that game, and I own it proudly. I know there is some controversy within it. Some people think it's a little too, the theme might be a little too dark. And look, I get it. There are some imagery in it that's a little dark, but overall, the tone of the game is its silliness, right? You're playing as a necromancer who is bored and lonely. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring back famous people from the dead. And so they've got all these cards. Well, technically they're not. They are famous people. It's pretty obvious, but they don't do that for copyright reasons. But there's cards that, like, there's one that looks just like a dead David Bowie, which I guess David Bowie is now dead here for a couple of years. So that's
was he dead when the game was published?
You know, that's a great question. I don't think he was. So that's, okay. But I don't know. That might be a deep dive trivia thing. Anyway, Dead Man's Cabal is a fun game. What's that?
Said let us know in the comments.
Yes, please let us know the answer to that question. But Dead Man's Cabal, you're playing as this necromancer who's raising people from the dead for a party, and it's got really cool worker placement aspects to it. So you kind of move different things around. There's different ways to score points. I like Dead Man's Cabal a lot. I know Daniel is going to trash it here in a second, but it's a fun game. The mechanics are just really good from Pandasaurus Games. And then we'll go with Horrified. You know what? I probably should give it a try sometime, but for right now, co-op, just going to shoot it off, trade it away.
All right. Well, I guess I'm next on the docket. So I'm definitely going to, let's see here.
Wow, he's really thinking this over.
I'm really thinking about it. I was actually just waiting for my solo shot there. So, okay, thank you. Now that all the attention is on me.
It's time for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
That's right. I can't give you my... I need all the glory. Okay, so my play is going to be Abomination. It actually is a really enjoyable game. While it lasted a little too long for my liking, for the randomness that is in it. Yes, it can be mitigated, but when you're playing a 3-hour game, you don't want a lot of even mitigated randomness in the severity that it's in as well. So that's my play. But I heard the Igor fix, I guess it's an abridged version, helps that limit, and it might be a better game, so I do want to play that. My shelf is going to be Horrified. I guess there's opportunities in which I would play it. I'm not a big fan of co-ops. I don't quite hate them as much as Andy, but Dead Man's Cabal is not going to enter my house. So when we discovered this game at Origins a couple of years ago when it was brand new, I was kind of like, oh, this looks cool. We sat down and we played it, and Andy was like, oh, that's fun. And I was like, you know what, it is fun, but just summoning the undead on a pentagram just hits a little too close to home for me. And I was like, I really don't want that on my shelf so that my family and friends can see that and go, what's the satanic thing in your shelf? no judgment, like if you have it, I give Andy a hard time about it, but my Christian sensibilities, sometimes I'm just like, ooh, it kind of gives me the cringies, so I'm like, it's a hard pass for me. Dead Man's Cabal, while it has unique mechanics, I think Wadake does the same type of thing where you're moving down a track, like entering something, it pushes out, and then you can now take an action in the new track. So if you want to experience that, play Wendaki instead of playing a game where you're literally casting bones of humans and resurrecting the dead. That's enough for me. So, John, what about you?
All right, so it's great to hear that everybody wants to play Abomination, because it's one that I really need to get played, because it's one of my favorite games, has been alluded to, and it really, yeah, it's a blast, but it is long. But they've kind of fixed that with my Igor variant, where I can use my little Igor and make the game a little shorter, because it skips a few of the rounds and it lets you get a head start in building your monster. The cool thing about people are complaining about the dice and the randomness, but the dice just bring your monster to life, and you don't necessarily win by bringing your monster to life. There's many other ways you can accrue points in the game. That's what's cool about it too, is I've had people, I think most of the times I've played, the winner is not the person that brings their monster to life. That's basically just what triggers endgame. And so as far as that goes, and there's more ways to mitigate the dice with the Igor variant. So Abomination, definitely my play. Dead Man's Cabal is probably going to be my shelf, because unlike Daniel, I wasn't raised by satanic necromancers, so it doesn't hit close to home for me. So I really don't relate to it. It's not something that I'm, I'm not in Necromancers Anonymous. It's not something I can't be around. But it is odd. It is odd, the dark imagery that is in that game, that is such a silly game. That's really, because when I played it, I was like, this is what this game is about. I was expecting something a lot darker, because actually, yeah, the mechanisms and the play is really fun. But that's gonna be my shelf for now. And Horrified, it's got to be my trade, because I've traded it 3 times. So I actually bought 3 copies last year when they were real cheap at Walmart for like $6, and I think I gave one away. I put one in I gave one to somebody for Christmas, put one in like a trade, and then the other one was at our Christmas game giveaway last year. So since I've traded it 3 times, it kind of has to be my trade. But as far as co-ops go, it's the most fun I've probably ever had playing a co-op was playing Horrified. So it's really top shelf for a co-op, which still gets it traded in my book, I'm afraid. So that's what I've got. What have you, young Chris?
Well, I'm shocked, John, that you haven't played it at all, but that's
it was at Gen Con. So
okay.
And it was when it was brand new. It was like one of the hot things at Gen Con, surprisingly hot, because it's not it's a mass market game.
Yeah.
And so I was surprised that it was that hot of a game. And like, it was when I was there with Andy, actually, and Andy had to go off and do something. I was like, hey, let me go hook up with these guys. Nobody's ever played this. Let's play Horrified. And so we all learned it together, played it together, had a blast, just got into the theme and the fun of it. And yeah, it was a good time.
Cool.
So yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, I guess I'll go ahead and start with my shelf. So I'm shelving this one, which is Horrified, because it is the best co-op that I have played that's not like a legacy or a campaign. Like, for it to be a one-off game, it is without question the best co-op game I've played. I mean, there's some other ones out there that get close, like Shadows over Camelot's also a great one, but it's a very different game. But I really appreciate in Horrified how the different monsters have all these different win conditions. So with the random combinations of the different ones, it kind of changes the game every single time. It's also fairly straightforward, but it's interesting. It's also tough. If you play it kind of straight, so to speak, the first couple times you're probably going to lose. It's actually pretty tough. So, and when you do win, it's by the skin of your teeth, and so it's always exciting in that. So yeah, Horrified's gonna be my shelf, because it's my go-to when I'm looking for a co-op, without question.
Cool.
Then I'm going to play Abomination. And the reason I'm going to play Abomination is I need to find out, it seems to be, it and My Father's Work seem to be like in this like fight duel on the internet of which one's better. And I really, really like My Father's Work. I hope at some point we can get it played and we can talk about it on the show. But Abomination also, it seems very interesting. Seems, again, there's a lot of parallels. I understand why people kind of put them up against each other. Unsure about like dice and stuff like people said, but I do like the idea how, creating your monster actually isn't always the path to victory, because that just kind of the way it also works in my father's work. So, and then Dead Man's Cabal, I'm trading it because I have to. Absolutely have no problems with the theme. I'm also a Christian, but I'm a big D&D player, so especially like old school D&D. So all about the sacrifice and the people and doing all the things, because it's all make believe. It ain't real. I'm not actually worshiping anyone or other gods or anything like that. It's all a sham. It's a joke. So it doesn't bother me at all, and it shouldn't bother anyone for that matter. But regardless, no. See, it's Cabal, but I do want to play it. I do want to get it played, but for the purpose of this game, I have to trade it.
Gotcha. No, hear me out. Hear me out, guys. I'm a D&D player as well. I've slayed my demons. I've played my chaos in the old world where it's spread out on the flesh of humanity. It's just something about like even the abstraction of like what I'm actually doing in that game. Like I am summoning the dead using bones of those dead people on a pentagram, which is traditionally associated with satanic stuff. To me, that abstraction is just a little too real for me. So like, but I don't blame anybody else for having it, though I do give Andy a hard time perpetually for it.
I'll give you this, Daniel. I will say this. It's definitely something that's worth a conversation.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to bring kids into play it. I'll say that for sure. And
we
I have
established
no...
in like episode 1 that children ruin games, so I don't know why that matters.
Well, that's true. I changed my tune. I didn't want to get canceled. So.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I love the children and the wives and everyone.
One more thing.
So I gotta jump in here. We're talking about back to kids and the whole like sacrificing thing. So listen. So it's crazy.
Took a turn.
So we were at Meeple-a-thon, and this lady comes up to me. She just starts talking about just different stuff, and she's telling me how like she hates kids and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I hate them. She's like, if I had them, I'd gladly give them to a one of those other witches. They're called
brothel.
No.
Hello. A coven.
A coven, yeah. I'd give them to a coven, or just the name of the it's not witches. It's I can't think of the name right now. Whatever.
Well, on that happy note.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, cool. That's awesome that you just hate children that much. It was the weirdest thing. I've never talked to anyone, like male or female, that's ever just seemingly hated children as much as this woman. It was really weird.
Chris, did you get her to subscribe to our channel?
So that was the thing. I'm sitting there selling the show, trying to talk to her. I'm only listening to her insanity because I'm trying to get a sub. And she was like, oh, I'll come back later. But she talked to me for like 5 minutes and then just walked away. And I was just like, okay.
Epic fail.
It was bizarre.
So tell us in the comments below what you think of hating children and play shelf and trade, what your play shelf and trade would be. And if you like what you're seeing, don't forget to like the video and smash that subscribe button to continue seeing more great content just like this.
And if you have 3 kids, which one would you play shelf and trade?
Like what you've seen, you'd like to see the entire episode, click on the link in the comments below.